In this video, I'm going to go through some more problems regarding the concept, the mathematical concepts of percentages and how you can solve these problems. So let's jump straight in with the calculator intro. If I now move on to the problem number 7 of the medium category of the topic percentages. So if I read the problem, it says the table gives information about Ali's spending last month. So a person, Mr. Ali, is spending is given in a chart based on percentage. So 30% is spent on rent, 15% on food, 12% on transport, and 43% on other accessories. So on other aspects. So Ali's total spending was £800 last month. So next month Ali's rent in pounds is going to rise by 20%. So the rent is going to rise by 20% on 800. So his total spending will still be the same. So he'll still be spending the same amount. So express the amount of money Ali will spend on rent next month as a percentage of £800. So you have to express the amount of money Ali will spend on rent next month as a percentage of £800. So if I open my notepad and use my pen tool, so it says what? Ali's total spending last month was £800, and his total spending this month will also be the same, but his rent is going to increase by 20%. So let's first figure out what is the amount of money that Ali spends on rent. So what is the rent? 30% of £800, right? So 30% of 800 is what? Of 800 is what?
30 by 100 multiplied by 800, right? So what is 30% of 800? So this is 8, of course. So it's 240, right? 8 into 30 is 240.
So 240 pounds is spent on rent last month. So this rent is going to rise by 20%. Next month Ali's rent in pounds is going to rise by 20%. So this will become what? If I rise it by 20%, that means the rent will be 120%, right? So this will be what? 120% of 240, right? So this can be also be represented as 120. This can also be represented
as 120 by 100 multiplied by 240, right? So if I just use the calculator for quick calculation, so this is 120 divided by 100 multiplied by 240. So we get 288, right?
So 288 is what that Ali will have to spend on the rent, only on the rent. So if the rent is 288 and the spending was 800, so express the amount of money Ali will spend on rent next month as a percentage of 800. So Ali's spending is still 800, it's still the same this month, but his rent is now 288 instead of 240. So what is 288 in terms of percentage of 800? So let's say it's X percentage of 800, right? So X percent of 800 is what? 288. So what is or we can write X by 100 of, or you can use multiply of 800 equals what? 288.
Right. So X is what? If I go give 800 here and 800 here, by cross multiplication we get what? X is 288 multiplied by 100 divided by 800, right? So this is 8, and 288 divided by 8 is what? 288 divided by 8 is 36. So X is 36%.
So 36%. So the rent now will be 36% instead of 30%. So we focus on problem number 9. So it says Rene buys 5 kgs of sweets to sell. So she pays 10 pounds for each sweets. Now Rene puts all the sweets into bags, into different bags. So she puts 250 grams of sweets into each bag. So 250 grams of 5 kg is put in one bag, another 250 grams is put into another bag, and this is how it's distributed. The bags are distributed. So she sells each bag of sweets for 65 pence. So Rene sells all the bags of sweets. So you have to work out her percentage profit. So if I open my notepad and use my pen tool, so first we'll figure out what? We'll figure out how many bags did Rene use, because this is the key to solving the problem. So if she puts 250 grams in each bag and she has a total of 5 kg, so we know that 1 kg is what? 1000 grams. 1 kg is 1000 grams, right? So she puts 250 grams, so and she has 5 kg, so 5 kg means 5000 grams, right? And she puts 250 grams in each bag, right? So what is so how many bags does she require? So 5000 divided by 250 is what? 20, right? So she needs 20 bags. 20 bags is required by her. So she needs 20 bags to sell, and each bag is sold for 0.65. So each bag out of the 20 bags is sold for what? 0.65. So if she has 20 bags and each bags she sells for 0.65 pounds or 65 pence, this is what? If we use the calculator and use, let's say, 0.65 into 20, so we get 13, right? So 13 pounds is what the total amount she sells. And what is the amount she buys? She buys it for 10 pounds. So she buys it for 10 pounds and sells it for 13 pounds, those sweets. So what is the percentage profit that she earned? So let's say it's X percentage profit. So X percentage profit out of what? X percentage, right? X percentage of first figure out, let's say X percentage is the total revenue that she earned. So X percentage of 10 is let's say 13.
So X by 100 multiplied by 10 is 13. So what is X? X is what? 13. This is 10, right? So 13 multiplied by 10, which is 130. So
X, the revenue is 130%. So what is the profit? If the revenue is 130%, then the profit is what? 30%, because you subtract the code, the 100, then you get 30% profit. So this is the this is the revenue, but this is the profit that Rene gets here. So if I now focus on the problem number 12 of the medium category of the topic percentages, so it has two parts here, 12A and 12B. I'll focus on 12A first. So let's read the question. So it says, each year Wentworth Hospital records how long patients waited to be treated in the accident and emergency department. So in 2015, patients waited 11% less time than in 2014. And in 2015, patients waited was 68 minutes. So in the average time that patients waited was 68 minutes in 2015, and in 2015 patients waited 11% less time than that of 2014. So work out the average time patients waited in 2014. So give your answer to the nearest minute. So in 2015, so the information given here is, in 2015 the patients waited on average 68 minutes. And in 2015, they waited 11% less time than in 2014. Less than 2014. Okay, so these are the two information that are provided. So in 2015 they waited 11% less time than in 2014. So you have to figure out what was the average time that they waited in 2014. So we know that in 2015 they waited 11% less time than in 2014. So if in 2014, let's say in 2014 they waited for x minutes, okay, in 2014. So if they waited for x in 2014, then in 2015 they waited for what? 0.89 x, or 89% of x. That's what they waited in 2015, right? This is in 2014. Okay, this is in 2014, and in 2015 they waited 89% of the time, 11% less time. So they waited 11% less time in 2015. So we know that this is what? This is 68 minutes. So we can say 0.89 x is what? 68, or x is what? 68 multiplied by 100. So 0.89 means basically 89 by 100, right? So 68 multiplied by 100 divided by 89. We basically do a cross multiplication. 100 comes up and 89 goes down. So multiplied by 100 divided by 89. So this is the value of x. So if I use the calculator, let's say 68 multiplied by 100 divided by 89. So we get around 76. So around 76 minutes. So this is the response to the first question, which is this is the time that they waited, average time that they waited in 2014. Now I'll focus on problem number 12b following from 12a. So let's read the question. So it says the hospital has a target to reduce the average time patient has to be waited in the accident and emergency department to 60 minutes in 2016. So in 2015 it was 68 minutes. Now in 2016 they want to reduce from 68 to 60 minutes. So you have to work out the percentage decrease from 68 to 60 minutes. So in 2015 it was what? 68 minutes in 2015. So in 2016 you have to, or it's decreased to 60 in 2016. So you have to calculate the percentage decrease from 68, the percentage decrease from 68 to 60 in 2016. So let's say 60 is x percent of 68, or x percent of 68 is 60. Okay, or x by 100 of 68 is 60. So x is what? 60 multiplied by 100 divided by 68. So if I use my calculator, let's say 60 multiplied by 100 divided by 68. So we get what? 88.23%. So it's around 88.23%. 88.23% or 23%. So this is the resultant. This is what? Basically 60. 60 is what? 88.23% of 68. So what is the percentage decrease? 100 minus this number, which is 88.23%, or which is something around 11.77%. So this is the percentage decrease. This is one way that you can figure out the percentage decrease. Another way you can find out is the percentage or the actual decrease. Let's figure out the actual decrease first. So in another way you can solve this is you can figure out the decrease. So what is the decrease? 68 minus 60. Okay, this is the decrease. So what is it based on? Based on the actual number, which is 68. The decrease is based on 68. So if you multiply this by 100, you get the same result as this one. So this is you calculate the decrease first based on the base number and multiply it by 100 to get the percentage decrease. And another way is you figure out the resultant percent and then decrease the resultant percent from 100 to get the actual, or subtract the resultant percent, which is x% from 100 to get the actual percentage. So these are two ways you can solve the percentage decrease problem. I'll now focus on problem number 14, which is a slightly different problem. So let's read the problem. So it says a force of 70 Newton acts on an area of 20 centimeters square. So the formula is given. Pressure is force by area. This is a very common physics formula. So the force increases by 10 newtons. So force increases by 10 newtons. Area increases by 10 centimeters square. So Helen says the pressure decreases by less than 20%. So a person Helen says that the pressure decreased by less than 20%. So is Helen correct? You have to figure that out. So the formula given is pressure is force by area and force by area. So the force given is what? 70 newtons. The area given is 20 centimeters square. So the force is increased by 10 newtons and area is increased by 10 centimeters square. So first we figure out what was the previous pressure. So the previous pressure was what? 70 newtons by 20 centimeters square. This is 3.5. This is the previous pressure. And what is the latest pressure? The latest pressure is 70 is increased by 10, which is 80, and the area 20 is increased by 10, which is 30. So if I use the calculator, so 80 divided by 30 is around 2.6667. Okay, so this is 2.66, 667 or 66, whatever, around this figure. So this is the pressure, this is the new pressure, 2.66, and the previous one was 3.5. So what is the percentage decrease? So if I figure out the percentage decrease, let's use the alternative way that we used. You can use any of the both of the two ways that I showed just previously in the previous problem. So the actual decrease is what? 3.5 minus 2.66, right? Based on what? The base number, which is 3.5, right? So if we multiply this by 100, we get the percentage decrease. So what is the percentage decrease? 3.5 minus 2.67 divided by 3.5 multiplied by 100. So if you do this calculation, we get what? 23.7. Around 23.7%. So this is definitely greater than 20%. Right? This is greater than 20%. 23.7 is greater than 20. So Helen is actually wrong that the decrease is less than 20%. The decrease is actually greater than 20%. So this is how you can figure out that Helen is actually wrong about this. So this is how you figure out the percentage decrease. I hope by now you have already gotten a huge grip on how you can solve the mathematical concept of percentage problems. So in the next video, I'm going to go through another concept. So stay tuned till then.